up. You gotta pump up. Okay. I need y'all to thumb video. We probably gonna be live like 3 times today. It's a lot going on. Okay, you guys already know what we're here to talk about. Before we get into it, go ahead and thumbs up the video. Thumbing up not only helps with YouTube's algorithm, but more importantly, it triggers up YouTube's notification system. So when you are thumbing up the video, you are literally knocking on the digital door of another Conscious crew member and telling them to get their block options into the sanctuary, because the Kang is in fact Kang Gang. Also, make sure that you guys have your notification bell set to all. Shout out to all of the new subbies. I love you long time. This is an all-purpose, a multi-purpose platform. We do it all over here, honey. So we're happy to have you in the building, shaking the tail feather with the rest of us. All right. And last but not least, please share the stream out to wherever it is you have digital community, whether that be your Facebook, your YouTube, your Insta story, your Snapchat, your VGC, the dark side of Twitter, Tumblr, or your personal OF. I don't really give a damn where you lay the link. Just let them whores know that we're loud, live, and in color. With no further ado, let's go ahead and push on through.
I know a place where you can recharge your soul.
Baby, that's Consciouztv.
And in the midst of brokenness, he gon' see your ass home.
Baby, that's Consciouztv.
You gon' heal, you gon' laugh and catch a little shade.
Girl.
Y'all know he be slaying, y'all better stop playing. Come hear what he's saying.
Ladies and gentlemen.
guys. Let me do something real quick. So hold on. Just a minute. Y'all still love it. Get the Consciouztv in here. Put it in. All right, we back in the building. I gotta here. All right, let me shout out to my baby mother, Whitney C, for the old Nancy piece of child support check. Thank you, baby, for serving in the AM always. You guys know that you can support the King on Cash App at $Consciouztv, and or you can paypal.me/Consciouztv over on this PayPal, okay? Because we're gonna be in our whole political bag today, baby. They got it going on, honey. You got Kamala and Quavo and Miss Megan stirring the pot in yesterday's Atlanta rally. We're getting into that in the next live at 1. We're going right on over there after this live. You got the Secret Service got they asses ate out, baby. Congress, the Supreme Court, the whole damn council, girl. Them white people were losing their mind on Secret Service, girl. Like cussing Secret Service clean out over almost making America great again, girl, by clipping the hell out of Donald and them folk doing a piss poor job. We're going to be reviewing that later on. We got Trump in interviews trying to explain what he meant by Christians not having to vote again if they get him in office this time. You got secret audio of JD Vance, Trump's new VP girl, who let it be known in this recorded audio from a fundraiser, I believe, girl, that Kamala Harris got the right shook gift. But in this live, we're going to get into some of Kamala's controversy regarding her time as DA and prosecutor. This keeps coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about her truancy law, okay? Legislation that she passed back in 2011. And we're also going to get into some Sean Gracie, okay? The diabolical, satanic Illinois officer who unalived Sonya Massey in her home after she rebuked his crayon ass in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Daughter. There's been some secret audio or leaked audio that is now going viral and surfacing about his punk bitch made ass, okay? So we got to get into that. But let me go ahead and speak to the conscious crew in the building first and foremost. All right, what's going on, Deshaun? Hey, Rumors NT. Hey, Layla. What's going on, Chanel? Hey, Carolyn. What's going on, Presma? Hey, Whitney. Thank you. Hey, Sin. Hey, Kiwana. Hey, Chanel. What's going on, Michael? What's going on, Big Day? Hey, it's Nene. What's going on, Pan Gal? What's going on, Juanita? Thank you, you guys. Hey, Auntie Trish. What's going on, my other Sin? Hey, Octavia. What's going on, you guys? Hey, Latoya. Hey, beautiful. I'm a new subby, and for the past couple of weeks, I have been loving your content. Welcome, Latoya Moss. Welcome to Conscious Crew member. Happy to have you here, baby mother. What's going on, Monica? Hey, Walking Truth TV. Hey, Kiwana. What's going on, Stephen Black? Thank you for your donation, Stephen. I got it over on PayPal when I check my notifications. Thank you, brother, man. Stephen been out here putting in our work, baby. We've been tag teaming on Instagram and just keeping the block hot with voting blue and, you know, getting Miss Kamala into office. You know, she's hands down the best candidate, especially out of the two. What's going on, Cats Meow? What's going on, Lady Jade? Hey, Marsha, Grand Rising. Hey, Laterra. Hey, y'all. All right, so I only got an hour. Let's not waste any more time. There's a lot going on. First thing I want to start with is I want to talk about Sean Grayson. You guys know I almost was not going to cover the story, especially after seeing the body cam footage. I did not believe that I could do it. I didn't believe I had it in me. Immediately, it was just re-traumatizing as hell to see another black and brown body unjustly slain for no reason. I mean, no reason at all. We're talking about a woman who didn't even put up a fight, who was not confrontational, a woman who was not a threat. I'm talking about whose life was claimed after she trusted Illinois police into her home to respond to what she thought might have been a potential burglary in development, and was only even in the kitchen because the officers pointed her to a pot of water that was boiling on the stove. And in the name of Jesus, had her life claimed. Completely heinous, callous, and just beyond, okay? Well, you guys know that there were things that came out about Officer Grayson's record at the time, that he had had like 3 DUIs. One had got dismissed. He also had, for whatever reason, been at 6 other precincts before finally landing at the department that sent him out to respond to Sonya Massey. There was not a lot of context at the time around why he had bounced around so much, but we have newly surfaced audio that may give us some insight in terms of why his ass was bouncing around, because we learned that Sean Grayson, courtesy of CBSnews.com, actually had some major disciplinary issues 20 months prior to murdering Sonya Massey in cold blood. We need to keep saying her name. Major integrity issues, a very lying, deep, big back lying ass spirit, which we already had surmised anyway because of the body cam footage. Mr. Grayson, after murdering Sonya Massey in cold blood, began to try to groom his partner to pick up the narrative that, oh, she was a crazy bitch about to throw boiling water on me, when Sonya Massey in no way had made it known in any way, shape, or form that she was feeling the need to defend herself and that she was going to throw boiling water that she had already sat down in the sink. Okay? He didn't oot her until she started pleading the blood of Jesus around there and aroused all them damn demons. Okay? So we're going to check out this audio. I want you guys to listen to this. This is Sean Grayson talking to one of his superiors who has called him into the office into question about why he lied on police documents. Okay? Just check this out. Completely surprising, but not surprising. Let me switch over my microphone so you guys can hear this. Plug in your headphones, you guys. This, once again, is audio of Sean Grayson, okay? Disciplinary issues 20 months before shooting Sonya Massey.
7 months on, how are you still employed by us?
I don't know.
Sean, do you understand what I am saying?
Yes, I do, sir.
And I've had this conversation with you before. If we can't trust what you say and what you see, we can't have you in our uniform. I'm calling you on your integrity. How does that make you feel?
I'm learning from it.
Are you angry with me for it? Do you understand it?
Yes. I don't get angry with this because, 1, I have no experience. Before I came here, I had no experience. 2, I wasn't allowed to do this right here. I was not allowed to review my videos.
This is termination. I'm getting goosebumps. This is extremely concerning. everybody likes you. I got to be able to trust you. Was this a purposefully done lie?
No. I full-heartedly, I still believed I was on North Madison until you just pulled up Google Maps and showed me in the daytime.
This is going to get deeper because you're going to have a hard time answering some questions here real quick.
Okay.
Okay, let's listen to that one more time, you guys. And hey, Flame, shout out to Flame and Row in the building. Hey, you all. Hey, Boo. Okay, this once again is audio of Illinois officer Sean Grayson, who is a drunk and alcoholic who couldn't keep a job. He was at 6 different precincts before he finally was employed at the one that sent him out to respond to Sonya. Courtesy of CBS News, audio recordings obtained by CBS News reveal that almost 2 years prior to the outing of Sonya Massey in her Springfield, Illinois home, Deputy Sean Grayson was reprimanded for putting false information in his police reports. He was then working for the Logan County Sheriff's Office. Quote, "If we can't trust what you say and what you see, we can't have you in our uniform," a supervisor can be heard saying. Grayson, who was a deputy with the Sangamon County Sheriff's Department when Massey was killed, has pleaded not guilty to earlier charges. His attorney declined to comment. Let's listen to this audio one more time.
How are you still employed by us?
I don't know.
So his superior is asking him, how are you still employed by us? He says, I don't know.
Sean, do you understand what I am saying?
He does not.
And I've had this conversation with you before.
Now he says, I've had this conversation with you before. So this man got away with lying and falsifying records and police documents times prior to the one that finally broke the straw's back and got his ass terminated.
If we can't trust what you say and what you see, we can't have you in our uniform. I'm calling you on your integrity. How does that make you feel?
I'm learning from it.
Are you angry with me for it? Do you understand it?
Yes. I don't get angry with this because, one, I have no experience. Before I came here, I had no experience. 2, I wasn't allowed to do this right here. I was not allowed to review my videos.
This is termination. I'm getting goosebumps. This is extremely concerning. Everybody.
The superior is getting goosebumps because even though out of order, he gave Sean Gracie multiple times, which it should have been one time and one time only, especially if the lie was really grave. Okay, I can understand maybe if it was, he got his memory wrong, maybe something that, you can argue that, might fall within a category of, okay, accident, mistaken identity, you got your location wrong, whatever the case may be. But if the lies that the superior forgave Grayson for were pretty serious lies, and that's what it's giving me, since the superior can be heard saying, this is giving me goosebumps. And I think it's giving the superior goosebumps because he's like, yo, you got a real issue. And now I'm looking back on all those opportunities I forgave you and gave you grace. It's now given that you were intentionally lying, just like you are right now. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It won't be a 3 times.
I got to be able to trust you. Was this a purposefully done lie?
No. I full-heartedly, I still believed I was on North Madison until you just pulled up Google Maps and showed me in the daytime.
This is going to get deeper because you're going to have a hard time answering some questions here real quick.
Okay.
Okay. So that was the audio. Let me switch over to my main microphone here. Let me actually pull up a old nasty piece of visual, child. Y'all thumbs up the video. Shout out to everybody in the building. I said, let me get my folks some daytime content, girl. Because we be vamping, honey. We be vamping hard. We be vamping hard. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on to your wigs, baby. CTV on the way. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes. All right. Let me scoot over. Shout out to my baby mother, Sophia, for the old nasty piece of child support check. For keep doing you. Thank you, babes. You keep doing me too. All right. So you guys just heard Sean Grayson. This man is diabolical. He is a fucking psychopath. Okay. Everything about how that man treated Sonya Massey was completely intentional. It was a part of a reckless pathology that he had since his time serving as a deputy for Illinois. Obviously, as I always argue when it comes to these failed, frail, racist, incompetent, little dick ass cops, when they're found guilty of crimes and reckless endangerment and racism and sexism and all this freaky ass shit, I believe that their entire record needs to be reinvestigated, because it's no telling how many times that things went down and went down terribly at the hands of the officer, not the alleged perpetrator, okay? Anybody that's ever been unalived under Sean Gracie's command, anybody that's ever been unalived by him directly, by his SWAT team, anywhere that he was caught to the scene and people ended up terribly beat, injured, or dead, all that shit needs to be reinvestigated. Just like what happened with the Scorpion unit, those men, that squad, it came out that they had been planting false evidence on people. They were planting drugs in people's cars, etc., to get their quota up in order to make it look like they were really out there doing the work and taking down the bad guys when they in fact were the bad guys. So when this type of shit happens, a officer's entire time in the precincts they have been working for need to be reevaluated. But there not only need to be a call to action to Sean Gracie and a reevaluation of his record as an officer, there also needs to be one of his superior. Because I'm trying to understand, why is a person who swore by oath to comply to truth, integrity, and the protection of civilians was given more than one opportunity after he had been found guilty of lying? I'm actually of the opposite belief. I believe that heavy is the head that wears the crown. I believe that people of the law and of the cloth should actually be held to an even higher standard of the law. I think that this is the only way to create check and balances when it comes to power, is that people with it are penalized worse, not lesser, but worse. And that they go into these career fields, whether they're politicians, whether they're police officers, whether they are presidents, etc. They go into these fields understanding that you will be held to a very special degree of the law, baby. Okay? Because if these people already have privilege because of their title, because of their power, and then there's little to no accountability, you can easily see how an abuse of power can creep into the throne room. Okay? So I feel like officers, if since y'all don't want to be abolitionists, since y'all want a criminal justice system, since y'all want policemen, y'all want police women on the streets, The only way to start counteracting some of this shit is if people understand that if your ass as a responder and officer of the law breaks the law, you're going to be held to harsher penalties as a result. That's the caveat to you yielding all this power between your GUN, your license to carry, and your license to arrest and assess a situation, is that if you don't in fact do those things with integrity, your black ass will be held to a harsher circumstances than a everyday civilian. But guess what? Y'all wannabe president actually would like to give officers like Sean Grayson immunity. So let Trump get his ass into office, baby. Y'all think police officers and police departments and DAs and prosecutors are walking around thinking that they are Superman. Trump about to show y'all ass what immunity and no accountability looks like. Okay? Because he was just on record a day or two or three ago, literally reiterating that he's going to give officers of the country immunity so that they can do their job without question. Wow. All right. So, Sean Gracie, girl, go to hell. Let's move on to Kamala. You guys know that Kamala, despite her being well received, girl, she got all the support from everybody, girl. Like, America is almost entirely in one single formation, okay? Thank God. For once. However, that is not without controversy. That is not without the fair share of speculation, even slander from her detractors and all-out opponents. You guys know that Kamala, before she was a VP, was district attorney and prosecutor of San Francisco, the state of California. During that time, she passed a lot of legislation. She was the big boss bitch as it relates to crime. And she passed something called Truancy Laws, okay? Which are basically laws that were to penalize the parents of children from kindergarten to 8th grade for missing more than 20 days of school without justified cause. As a result, her detractors are saying that this disproportionately injured minority communities. There was a woman named Cheree Peoples, who we're going to get into, who also took to the media at the time because after Kamala got this truancy law passed in 2011, Cheree Peoples found herself arrested just for that. Her child missing more than 20 days of school without an alleged justified causation. Well, come to find out, Cheree Peoples' child at the time was suffering from sickle cell, and that had a lot to do with why she wasn't in school consistently, because of doctor's appointments, because of these sickle cell episodes that her young child would have. And to make matters worse, Cheree Peoples was also pregnant at the time. So she had a lot going on. She's been speaking out for years now, and she has resurfaced as a result of the VP pending President of the United States. And she took to an interview and reiterated that she finds Kamala pretty dangerous, that she is terrified of Kamala's truancy law because Kamala, as a result of coming president, wants to take the truancy law from state to federal. Okay, which means that this would no longer allegedly be classified as a misdemeanor, which is what it currently is classified as if you are charged with truancy in the state of California. But apparently this will be a felony on your record. And if disenfranchised minority communities are already in a chokehold, already poor, already reeling through petty misdemeanor charges, felony charges. The last thing that some are arguing these communities need is a law that will further complicate things for already struggling communities, which is being argued truancy disproportionately impacts poor Black and brown communities. All right, so what I'm going to do is refer to a nasty piece of article, girl, because I'm going to give you guys my take on what's going on. And I'll get you guys' take as well. Hold on. Where my I got so much shit, y'all. It's ridiculous. Nope, that ain't it. That ain't it. That ain't it. All right, here it is. Okay. Article according to the Huffington Post, baby. The Huffington Post has an article that was written up in 2019 that reads, "The Human Cost of Kamala Harris War on Truancy." The progressive prosecutor wanted to transform how California responded to students missing school. Parents like Cheree Peoples wound up paying the price. On the morning of April 18th of 2013, in the LA suburb of Pinyu Park, a throng of photographers positioned themselves on a street curb and watched as two police officers entered a squat townhouse. Minutes later, their cameras began clicking. The officers had reemerged with a weary-looking woman in pajamas and handcuffs, and the photographers were jostling to capture her every step. Quote, "You would swear I had unalived somebody," the woman Cheree Peoples said in a recent interview. In fact, Peoples had been arrested for her daughter's spotty school attendance record under a truancy law that then California Attorney General Kamala Harris had personally championed in a state legislature. The law enacted in January of 2011 made it a criminal misdemeanor for parents to allow kids in kindergarten through 8th grade to miss more than 10% of school days without a valid excuse. People's 11-year-old daughter, Shayla, had missed 20 days so far that school year. The law was the capstone of Harris's years-long campaign to get tough on truancy, the term for when a child consistently misses school without a valid excuse. Harris's involvement began in the mid-2000s when the future senator and 2020 presidential candidate was the San Francisco district attorney. Harris had been disturbed to learn that a disproportionate number of the city's homicide victims were high school dropouts, and the dropouts are more likely to become perpetrators or victims of crime. Preventing truancy, she argued, was not just about the noble goal of ensuring every child's education, but a matter of averting future criminals. So it only made sense for the city's top law enforcement officer to get involved. Harris filed charges against a handful of 20 San Francisco parents whose elementary school-aged children were consistently missing school. A few years later, she persuaded the state legislature to adopt harsher penalties for truancy. Under the new law, the parent or guardian of a young truant child could face a fine of $2,500 or more, or 1 year in jail. Harris pushed hard for the law as she was running for attorney general, and it passed just as she won the election. Quote, "We are putting parents on notice," Harris said at a 2011 inauguration. Quote, "If you fail in your responsibility to your kids, we are going to work to make sure you face the full force and consequences of the law." Orange County heeded her call with particular enthusiasm. On the morning Peoples was arrested, police arrested 5 other parents, including several in front of waiting news crews, as part of what one assistant district attorney painted as an effort to prevent children from being criminals or joining a gang. The district attorney described Peoples' conduct in unsparing ways, telling local news outlets that she had ignored the school's numerous requests for meetings and multiple warnings that Shayla was truant. Quote, The defendant was offered counseling and parenting classes. Read a press release from the district attorney's office. Quote, the student was provided the opportunity for a mentor through Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Orange County, a mentor at school, and monthly meetings with law enforcement officers. Peoples never responded to those offers, it claimed. Peoples read all this several days later in a state of disbelief. She had a soft manner and voice and has dedicated most of her adult life to caring for Shayla, who has lived with sickle cell anemia, a serious genetic illness that causes her acute pain and requires frequent hospitalization and medical procedures since birth. Shayla frequently missed school because she was in too much pain to leave the house or was hospitalized for long-term care. Her school was aware of these circumstances. It had records on file from the original child's hospital explaining that Shayla's condition would necessitate unpredictable absences and special educational accommodations. Peoples and the school had worked together to set up some of those accommodations, which are required under federal disability law. At the time of her arrest, Peoples claims that she was fighting with the school to get it to agree to additional accommodations under an individualized education plan, which she said the school had rejected. Quote, this is a young woman who spends a lot of her time in the hospital. People said, how is it that she's given off the impression of being a gang member? Why are they coming after me? Peoples was caught up in the hugely complex forces Harris and her tough on truancy stance unleashed more than a decade ago. Harris has since replaced her punitive stance with the message that parents of truant children need help, not scare tactics. It's a shift that happened roughly in step with voters wanting tolerance for using the criminal justice system to address complicated social problems and Harris's own preparations to seek higher office. In the memoir she released shortly before announcing her candidacy for president, Harris described her work on truancy as trying to support parents, not punish them. Her evaluation also supports the story she's telling voters in the 2020 campaign trail, that she was trying to change the system from within in a way that is consistent with progressive values. She has packaged herself as part of a new generation of progressive prosecutors who use the office to achieve transformational change. All right, I'm going to just leave that story right there. And then what I want to do is actually show you guys a clip of Harris's inauguration speech where she spoke about truancy. Okay, hold on. Make sure you guys are thumbing up, please. Show you guys a short clip. I think Roland Martin had this clip. Yep. So this is going to be a fair use. Find my mug fair use, honeys, because Miss Roland Martin thinks she about to be playing on somebody's top. All right. Let me see if I can skedaddle on. All right, here it is. All right, let's head over to the Roland Martin show. Let me switch my microphone. Please thumb up and share. You guys will working. If you enjoying the content, Cash App, PayPal, a nigga, subscribe, share it out, do what you do. Your long time. All right, let me show you guys this. All right, check this out.
And 9. I would not be standing here were it not for the education I received. And I know many of us will say the same thing. And I believe a child going without an education is tantamount to a crime. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy. Well, this was a little controversial in San Francisco. And frankly, my staff went bananas. They were very concerned because we didn't know at the time whether I was going to have an opponent in my re-election race. But I said, look, I'm done. This is a serious issue, and I've got a little political capital, and I'm going to spend some of it. And this is what we did. We recognized that in that initiative, as a prosecutor and law enforcement, I have a huge stick. The school district has got a carrot. Let's work in tandem around our collective objective and goal, which is to get those kids in school. So to that end, on my letterhead, now let me tell you something about my letterhead. When you're the DA of a major city in this country, usually the job comes with a badge. And there is often an artistic rendering of said badge on your stationery. So I sent a letter out on my letterhead to every parent in the school district, outlining the connection that was statistically proven between elementary school truancy, high school dropouts, who will become a victim of crime, and who will become a perpetrator of crime. We sent it out to everyone. A friend of mine actually called me and he said, Kamala, my wife got the letter. She freaked out. She brought all the kids into the living room, held up the letter, said, if you don't go to school, Kamala's going to put you and me in jail. Yes, we achieved intended effect.
So one of the issues that we'll, of course, be talking about is.
All right. So there it is. The 2010 Kamala Harris is talking about truancy and how they actually had a great response to truancy. Now, before I go into this, I want to say, with the exception of Cheree Peoples, I believe that she definitely is deserving of an apology. And if there are any residual objective injuries that she experienced, such as like if this is on Cheree's record, if this charge is still there, I do believe that this was one of those instances where Kamala's office dropped the ball and Cheree Peoples ended up being victimized in the name of something good, but that was erroneously executed on the wrong person. Cheree Peoples had a daughter who had sickle cell. The school had already known this. They had already had her child's records and medical records on file. I believe that Tanya said that sickle cell can be protected by a 504. I listened to an interview by Cheree Peoples on another content creator's page. She actually said that she also had a 504 plan, and that's why she was completely shocked that police arrived at her home the morning of and snatched her up out of her bed with nothing but, her PJs and, her spaghetti strap on, girl. She was shocked, and she feels very traumatized by the way she was dealt with. She had all of the provisions in place to not have been charged with truancy and nonetheless had to be put through this whole ordeal. So with the exception of Cheree Peoples, I'm so sorry this happened to her and her family. And I hope that if there is any lingering impact from her being wrongly vacuumed into the vortex of this truancy law and legislation, that Kamala reaches out and makes that right. Now, let's get into truancy. Like a lot of people in the chat, I'm team truancy, baby. Oh, yes, I am. I'm team truancy. Kamala was District of San Francisco. California had a huge crime issue back in 2011 and currently still have huge crime issues. The people of California were calling for there to be reform and for there to be a confrontation between the law and the criminals of California. Crime ranging everywhere from SA, from rape to theft, burglary, scamming, gang violence, etc. Under Kamala's watch, all of these type of perpetrators got persecuted. But once again, Kamala was also known to kind of have empathy and trying to find the balance. Now, something that she said, which was incredible is that when her and her office looked at the data, there was this reoccurring pattern in the data where they realized they had just as many criminals as there were dropouts. And they made a connection between a lack of education and this kind of creating a school to prison pipeline situation, a school to gang life pipeline situation, a school to being for the streets pipeline situation. And their solution to that was, we're going to intimidate the parents and threaten the parents with fines and jail time in order to get them to make sure that their children that they had are getting an education so that they don't have to do alternative things in a system that's already on their necks, like thieving, committing crime in the name of survival. If they could get a standard education and get access to a decent job and a working wage. So truancy came into play as a way to curb the criminality, as a way to ensure that children, particularly of disenfranchised communities and parents, could have a shot in an unfair system by getting an education. And also, once again, counteract the future development of criminals to come, because innocent people of California are going to have to pay the price for other people neglecting their children, not taking care of their kids, and then these kids become young adults and become dysfunctional adults who then want to act as the supervillains of Gotham. Okay? So Kamala Harris, in my opinion, her intent and ideas are in the right direction. She seems to need a little bit of help in executing them sometime properly. You know, she needs to maybe nuance and contextualize the problem a lot more to help her policies match her intent. So I can also understand the argument that Kamala, right idea, but could have proposed something that was more solution-oriented as it relates to the root. What is the root? Like, why are these adults having kids? What's putting these parents in a predicament to not care for their kids? Is it economic? Is it social? Is it mental health? Etc. But nonetheless, the idea and the principle of truancy, I can stand behind. But like all new ideas and solutions, a lot of times for leaders, it's trial and error. And sometimes you don't do all the work in theory, but you know you're on to something. And they had reasonable success with these truancy laws because they saw a 30% drop in truancy violations in the state of California. So as much as people can talk shit about Kamala as a DA and her truancy law, they saw significant impact. Almost 50% of truancy violations declined. Okay? I stand by truancy laws as well. Now, y'all, the public, claim to care about the kids. Well, here it is. Kamala was trying to keep the kids in school and off the damn streets. Okay? And once again, giving them an even shot in a fucked up ass system while people are sympathizing with the parents who refuse to ensure that the kids they had are getting a formal education, which is their only shot out of the inherited poverty that they've been birthed into. Now, if there's a direct correlation between California criminals and the dropout and truancy rate, she focused her efforts intently on closing that gap. Hold on, girl. She focus her efforts on closing that gap. And it worked. You know, she was trying to curb the school to prison pipeline situation. Hold on, you guys. Now, what's going on, Corey? Kamala, once again, they saw a 30% drop in truancy at that time. It probably went even higher, you know, after that, because the fear of these parents going to prison or paying a $2,500 fine scared their asses into parenting. Now, people are, once again, Black people, our people are empathizing with the penalized parents in this case. And once again, with the exception of Cheree Peoples, who was innocent and wrongfully arrested and charged, with the exception of her, people are empathizing with the penalized parents and claiming that the punishments are harsh. But how about this? California had a harsh crime issue. So it's equally harsh for California citizens to have to live in a state where there are higher odds of them being victims of burglary and homicide. So rightfully so. People who willfully lay down and carry kids to full term only to not raise them properly, leaving them to be for the streets and life of crime as a means of survival, should be held accountable for using their reproductive organs to usher in what would become the future criminals of California, who are mostly just a bunch of neglected and abandoned young people who became worse adults as time went on. You cannot sympathize only with the communities and the parents who would be affected by Kamala's truancy legislation, but also not empathize with the people who the truancy laws are trying to protect, which are not just the young people and the kids themselves, who deserve, once again, to have a formal education, but also just the everyday citizens, the everyday population, the general population of California, who have to live in a crime-stricken state as a result of other people wanting to abandon human beings and leave them to fend for themselves, aka leave them to run up in your shit to get the bills paid, run up in your car, run up on you outside the grocery store in a stick-up, leading young people to find safe spaces and community and family and gangs that further exploit them and perpetuate crime. So if you can have a heart for, oh my God, Kamala was locking up niggas and she was locking up Black people. As I said in a previous live, Kamala wasn't locking up innocent people. She wasn't pulling up to the damn local mall and the local Target and just throwing random ass innocent Black people into the back of the paddy wagon and hauling their asses down to the LAPD. People were getting locked up for breaking the law. And Kamala, like a lot of leaders who are trying to really assess the situation and figure out, how do we curb crime? How do we lessen these things? Was trying to be solution-oriented. And rather than penalizing the children, she was trying to put the parents of those kids in a position to give a fuck about they fucking kids. Because it's not only fair to the kids that you give them a formal education and shot in the system so that they don't have to commit crime and have to be attracted to gangs and gang affiliation and do silly, goofy, criminal shit just to help keep the nuclear family together. But it's also fair to California civilians who don't deserve to have to pay the price for bad parenting, who don't deserve to have to paid the price for people laying down and having kids that they don't give a fuck about. That not only is unfair to the kids themselves, it's unfair to everybody else in California who's doing the right fucking thing. So if you're out here screaming, oh my God, the kids, if you give a fuck about the kids, you actually will find yourself supporting what Kamala was doing. She was trying to give the kids a fucking shot by making a terrible ass parents get up off their ass, because if you can lay down the fuck and put the effort into sweating it out for a nut, then you damn sure can put in the fucking effort to send them to school and to at least be responsible enough to commit to that, if nothing else. It was mighty weird to me watching a lot of commentary throughout the night of black ass, brown ass people hooting and hollering about Kamala and trying to demonize her, while claiming that she was hurting kids and hurting poor families. No, bitch, poor communities were hurting everybody else. And on top of that, these people weren't telling the entire truth. It wasn't like your child missed days in school and then helicopters and drones flew over your house and your ass was picked up and dropped off at the women's facility. You were given several warnings. They went in to try to be preventive first, providing the child with mentorship, with resources, community resources, all type of shit. So the reality is, once your child exceeds 20 days of inexcused school attendance, and you also don't respond to any of the opportunities to resolve the issue of why your child is missing school to begin with, then you got to see the big boss. And rightfully so. And the only motherfucking person that I'm making the exception for is Miss Cheree Peoples. She's the exception to the rule. What they're also not telling you, those who are trying to make Kamala the big bad whoop, is that some of these kids were missing 100+ days of school. Not 20, not 2, not 30, 120 days, 115 days of the school year gone, erased, not attended, unaccounted for, no excuse, no medical slip, no nothing. And then what her detractors are not telling y'all is that not only were the truancy law put into place because we're talking about kids were missing extreme amount of days, and there being a connection to the life of crime. But on top of that, the people who, once again, are acting like Kamala was out there hunting niggas down as some type of a black overseer on a white plantation are not telling y'all that less than 20 parents ever got arrested. Out of the entire state of California, the entire district of San Francisco, less than 20 fucking parents were actually arrested. The legislation was put into place to more so be what Kamala said it was, which was more so of a fear tactic. They never really wanted to implement it. They never really wanted to enforce it. But hell, if threatening your ass with fines and jail time is what would make you commit to sending your child to school so that they have an even shot in an uneven society and would keep them from being the criminals of tomorrow, then so the fuck be it. So on the day that Cheree Peoples was arrested, 5 other parents were arrested too, because it was publicity day. It was we're going to show y'all we about that business. Okay? And hopefully this publicity, baby, will get y'all information, and it did. It absolutely did. Because truancy started to go way, way, way on down, which I also find to be very interesting that none of her detractors are talking about that either. That these communities and these parents that they want to argue on behalf of literally had no substantive justified reason to not have their kids in fucking school. Which is why all it took was Kamala coming to the front of the line saying, I'm gonna put all y'all hoes in handcuffs. But all of a sudden now everybody can act right. All of a sudden now everybody can properly get those kids who ain't been in school this whole time in school. All of a sudden now, girl, everybody got a will and got a way. Everybody got the bandwidth now. Which means that a lot of the kids whose parents were impacted by truancy were literally negligent parents. Just allowing kids to run amok. Just allowing them not to go to school for the hell of it. But soon as Stiletto Pumps in the Club came pumping through, baby, saying she was gonna lock bitches and niggas up. All of a sudden, bitch, we got 30, 40, 50, 80% drop and decline in truancy, baby. So Kamala's point was proven. It was fucking proven. If your kid doesn't want to go to school, that's something that they would have to properly take over the school system. Send their ass to military camp. Send their ass to boot camp. I mean, I think the whole point was the education system and Department of California wanted to collaborate with parents. Because either way, we're now recognizing there's a connection between a lack of productivity in young people and not having a formal education that's leading to a life of crime. So now everybody has a reason to be invested in the well-being and the livelihood of those kids. Because these kids are going to become the people who going to whoop my ass tomorrow. These kids are going to become the people who are going to rob my black ass blind tomorrow. So I think the whole philosophy and the whole idea behind enacting the truancy situation was to push relationship. If you find yourself, in a situation where you can't care for your kids, once again, Kamala wasn't just locking niggas up. They were missing hella days in school, and on top of that, there were preventive measures being put into place. Her office had developed a whole package. So if parents didn't respond to none of this, not only are you not sending your kids to school, but on top of that, you're not responding to any of our attempts to rectify the situation and to help you as a parent. Now, yeah, you got to come before the board and you got to testify. Now, and rightfully so. So, this is an interesting situation, and I think that Zena, or I'm gonna call you Queens Unite, but I'm probably fucking up your first name, says this era was blown out of proportion. The outcome was more positive than negative. They took a molehill, which was Cheree people's situation, which Cheree was a victim. She was one of the people who should have never been arrested. Officers should have never showed up to her home. This should have never been a situation that her and her daughter were ever in. This was an era. But outside of Cheree peoples, you don't see nobody else coming forward, right? Talking about they were victimized. Because everybody else ass was guilty as charged. And Kamala and her office, they only arrested less than 20 parents. This is an exaggerative attempt, for whatever reason, to smear Kamala, to make her look like something that she's not. It's very bizarre how our own people are going absolutely, utterly out of their way to be intellectually dishonest about Kamala, because I don't understand who they think that's going to help, because right now we are literally have no choice but between Kamala and Trump. And if you're spending all of your energy and all of your time trying to make Kamala look like Satan, all you're doing is really defaulting consumers and viewers to Trump. And once again, Trump wants to give officers like Sean Grayson, who viciously and unsolicitedly ordered Sonya Massey immunity. As controversial as Kamala's past and track record is as a DA and as a prosecutor, the reality is, what can you say about her ass as VP? She ain't been locking niggas up since she been VP. Now all of these people want to come back forward. All these people want to continue to stir up the pot about shit that went on in 2011. While we're in a critical juncture. I'm trying to understand what point are people trying to prove? Because if you're Team Trump, just say that. I mean, because that's the only thing that the negative publicity behind Kamala is going to lead to, is the reintroduction of Trump and his Project 2025 New World Order bullshit. There won't be any public schools for truancy to even be enacted in if Trump and his Project 2025 shit gets put into place. Y'all talking about Kamala locking up niggas. Trump is going to have your children forced to sign off on and take a military entrance exam. If they attend public school. Trump and his New World Order are going to have your kids not only wanting them drafted into the military, because there won't be a working functional military in 5 years thanks to Carisha 19 and that juice they mandated you all to take in order to continue to work, live, fly, and breathe and drink water. So they're getting them young now. But he also wants to remove protective legislation that keeps your children currently from working some of the most harshest jobs in the country. He wants to remove all that. Doesn't care if your kids don't have experience, your kids could be severely injured. Doesn't care about subjecting minority kids because you think wealthy kids are even going to remotely find themselves in a regular workforce. No. All of this is going to disproportionately impact you and I. All these black men crying about how the police. Well, if Trump gives their ass immunity, bitch, you might as well zip it. Because it doesn't matter what the hell the truth is. It doesn't matter what the fuck really happened. Officers are going to have immunity. And there's nothing that you and I want to be able to do about them blowing your fucking head off or wrongfully putting your ass in prison and beating the hell out of you on the way to jail because the Proud Boys need something to gawk at. All my ladies who want bodily autonomy, you want a right to control your reproductive. You don't want to go to prison if you've had an abortion. Not if you are going to have one, if you've had one. Because Project 2025 wants to unleash and make it accessible for state legislators and the powers that be to have access to your medical records. They want to see what you've been doing with that puss. All you people who love overtime and need overtime just to keep health insurance, just to keep a roof over your head, just to keep the lights on. Oh yeah, removing all of that. All my LGBT folk, all these freedoms and liberties, gone. Why are we talking about shit that Kamala allegedly did over a decade ago? What has she done since she been in your face? And I'm still, even with all the negative things that can be said about Kamala, I still ain't heard one sound, convincing argument as to why the fuck I should vote for Trump. Because hypothetically, if everything they said about Kamala was true, I still vote blue, bitch. Because nothing she did looks remotely like what the fuck Trump is going to do and was trying to do during his tenure as president. So I'm just trying to understand, what are some of you black and brown people trying to do? Are y'all really reading the room right now? Because it's given that some of y'all haven't read the almost 1,000-page Mandate for Leadership manifesto for the right. I don't know if some of you niggas are trauma bonding with Trump because y'all got mugshots too. You know, y'all done lied. Y'all done been found guilty of treason and shit. I don't know, like, what some of you niggas really got. You know, the only thing I could think that's wrong with some of our black and brown folk out here who are just really off in Kamala's ass, as if dictator of the century is not trying and pulling every fucking junkie stunt he can to get into office. The fact that you even think that it's remotely appropriate to even argue and try to find arguments to not support a candidate who has experience in politics relative to a candidate who is a convicted felon and only wants to be president so that he can have immunity and not have to serve any time or be penalized in the way that any other fucking criminal would be. The fact that some of y'all are only talking about Kamala and then aren't even producing an alternative at this point. Because at least if you're going to drag this candidate to hell and you're going to persuade the black community that she's not black, she's not like us, she don't like black people, she that, can you at least also provide a equivalent solution? Because we have, 90-something days left now with a motherfucker who has a cult following, who's already been president once. What's the default? What's the counter move? Like, after you're done dragging her, what's the alternative? And once again, I'm not saying that Kamala is Jesus. That's not why she's getting my vote. I actually believe she's a really fair candidate. I like a lot of the policies. Even looking back at her time as DA and all of that, I understand her mentality about things. I actually can stand behind her legislation as well. I can also admit that at times her and her office dropped the fucking ball, like all people do. You know, that everything wasn't executed in the most ideal way. there was error, there was flaw, there was fault. But ultimately, I appreciate what she's tried to do, including helping niggas, because those same black people who are using their platforms to spin the block with Kamala's wig are also not talking about how much she was trying to provide comfort to the community by taking black people who the state was willing to felonize. I just made that word up. And have those people have misdemeanors instead. Because if you're going to talk about it, let's talk like all about it. Can you just be honest about all of it? Not just the parts of her you think are raggedy, because the people who are talking against her are not speaking in a complete manner about her. But long as I'm here, baby, we're going to have a shot. We're going to have a shot. We're going to play the balancing game. And we're not going to run from Kamala's flaws. That's why I wanted to have this truancy conversation. Not scared of the conversation. Not going to run from the conversation. We're going to have the conversation. Okay? So, I'm Team Truancy. Light these motherfucking parents up. And Kamala, while you at it on the federal level, could you also start penalizing these motherfucking parents when it comes to their bully ass kids? Because I think that'll slow bullying down the way that truancy slowed truancy down. Lock these motherfucking niggas and bitches up over these raggedy ass kids they out here neglecting, and they want to go to school and beat up on my kid, go to school and beat up on my child who trying to do the right thing, honey. I bet you if you threaten to put their ass in the clanker, honey, these bullies will become students real quick. Real quick. Kamala, while you're at truancy, bitch, could you also create some anti-bullying legislation that'll also put the fire underneath these motherfucking parents' asses? Because we know now, if these parents don't care to send their kids to school, they damn sure ain't trying to raise them with no intentional ethics and morals. Oh, yes, baby. I'm here for Miss Team Kamala, baby. Please believe I'm going to be submitting my motherfucking proposals and my damn initiatives. Because Kamala love for some damn initiatives, baby. Okay, we're going to be team initiating in this motherfucker. Regulating the room. All right, so that's that. We closing this out. We gotta roll over to the next live. Matter of fact, let me post it in the link, you guys, because we got about to head right on over this. It might be a rollover effect. Because we got to get into the things, honey. We got to get into the things. There's a lot going on. It's a lot going on. Thumbs up this video. Share this stream out. Get the word out. You know, because we're working, honey. We're working all the time. All the time we're working. Let me post the link to the next live in the chat. There you all go. Click that link, honey. We're about to go over there. I'll see y'all in the next live. Love you a long time. If you enjoyed yourself, Cash App, PayPal, subscribe, share, all that good jazz. I'll see you later. Bye.